Hi everyone. Happy Friday. It's a lovely day out today. Before we get started, because today is about the Invincible finale, okay? This shit was crazy. It was crazy. Like there's not a lot of ways you can describe it other than insane, crazy, mind-blowing, you know? But before we get started, I just wanted to thank everyone for the comments and, checking out the last video. I love when we can have discussions. Like, that's really my main reason for doing this. So I love it, love it, love it. Um, let's get into it. I took a lot of notes. However, I really don't want to be long-winded, but also I don't care because I want to get my point across. So bear with me. Thank you. Let's get started. So we pick up right where episode 6 ended. And Mark is just in shock. He cannot believe that his dad murdered someone so effortlessly right in front of him. And for most of the episode, he is in denial. Absolutely. He really believes like this isn't his dad. Someone is controlling him. Someone is like something is happening that can explain Omni-Man's actions. And he's really scraping for like every conceivable reason. But Omni-Man's like, no, it's me. This is me. And it's time you really know where I come from, where you come from, basically. So he gives them the full truth on Viltrum, and essentially they are an empire which aims to conquer the entire galaxy. Okay. Which I didn't predict this in any of my videos, but I was talking with my friend and I was like, yeah, Omni-Man is here to take over Earth. The superiority complex, the godlike complex he holds, ain't no fucking way he feels like humans are on the same level as him. No way. And we've seen that, right? But essentially, they want to take over the entire galaxy, but they had to start at home. And in order to do that, they really committed genocide to weed out the weak and build the strongest army there is. So they set out to conquer other planets, and we find out that included Alan, the alien, who we see at the end of the episode. That included his people of the Unipins. I think that's how you say it. I feel like it's not, but oh well. um, and we find out, Omni-Man wasn't sent to Earth not to protect it. No, 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 no. He was sent to weaken and conquer it, which is why he takes out the Guardians of the Globe. It's it's that sense of duty and that blind loyalty that really pushes a lot of Omni-Man's actions. In this episode specifically, in this episode, that sense of duty that you have to do this, it really carries throughout the entire episode. Um, so after all of that, Mark is stunned. He is hurt, rightfully so. And Omni-Man's like, look, it's time for you to join the fight. Like, come on, let's go. And Mark, he has no idea how to process this, and I don't even blame him because it's like, could you imagine? That's your parent, someone you consider your your supporter, someone you love blindly. You would do anything for them, and they turn around, not only murder someone in front of you, they hold no remorse, and you find out they're a genocidal madman. That's a lot. Mark, throughout this whole episode, he is really trying to tap into Omni-Man's humanity. He really believes Omni-Man is not all the way gone. And I don't either. I don't believe Omni-Man is all the way gone. Make no mistake, that man is fucking crazy. and he is psychotic, but he's not all the way gone. He's not. Um, but it him trying to appeal to Omni-Man's humanity doesn't really work. And it really doesn't work because Omni-Man does his best to deflect. And I think that serves a bigger issue, which we're gonna get into, right? Him deflecting every time Mark brings up the fact that, you love me, you love mom, you love the people here, you have protected the people here, you were happy here. He deflects every single time. And that'll build into something bigger, right? Unfortunately, once Omni-Man refers to Debbie as a pet, and she hears this live and in color because it's being streamed, the new Guardians of the Globe are watching as well. Well, I don't think they're watching that instance, but it hurt my soul. I was hurt for Mark and Debbie. That shit hit my soul, and I'm not even in their situation, but it hurt. And I think what really put it over the edge was Omni-Man's tone. He was so cold and detached, and he just didn't care. And kudos to J.K. Simmons because he gave an amazing performance. Everyone gave an amazing performance this episode. I believe the man who voices Mark is Stephen Y with a Y, like his last name starts with a Y, but props to him. They all did great. So at this point, Mark is like, I'm not abandoning Earth. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm not going to enslave my friends. I don't care about Viltrum. I don't know them. I have no loyalty to them like you do. I don't. And I'm not going to enslave people to, no. So Omni-Man's like, okay, cool, then we're going to have to fight. And they go head to head. And I really have to commend Mark because by this point, I'm sure he didn't feel like any type of hero, but he was because throughout all of it, he had heart and he kept going. He kept going. He didn't give up. That's one thing that's been consistent throughout the whole series. He never, ever gives up. He always keeps going and, tries to see justice in what he's doing. And for that, he'll always be a hero, even if he doesn't feel like it. Always. What a battle! I mean, that is wow. Mark went through some serious trauma, as well as Debbie, because she had to watch that. Everyone, that's emotional trauma for Debbie and the team who really watched it live and in color. And for Mark, it was physical, emotional, and mental pain. Like, oh my goodness. So they're fighting, and every time Mark tries to be a hero in this instance, in this battle, when he saves the pilot, when he tries to save the mother and daughter, it always ends up in vain, and they always die at the hand of Omni-Man. And that's Omni-Man's way of teaching him a lesson, quote unquote, which is just terrible. And it just brings home the fact that, Mark really doesn't feel like a hero at all. Like, everything he touches fucking dies, at least in his mind. So what's the point? Omni-Man goes on to say he really views humanity as weak. They're insolent, they're emotional, and they're pathetic. And he really has no issue committing mass genocide. Okay, no issue. No issue, which is insane, but on par with the source material. And I feel like part of that, when he says that they're weak and they're pathetic, I think he's projecting. I really do. I think he's lying to himself because he's been on Earth for 20 years, right? I think he's lying to himself. I think part of him doesn't feel that humanity is pathetic. I really do. And I'll get into that in a second. So, with one punch, Omni Man knocks Mark into downtown Chicago, and they were 20 miles away. Like, ah, it's crazy. Thousands are dead. But what really sends Mark over the edge is when Omni Man tells him flat out, look, your mom, in the grand scheme of things, her life is worthless. Ah, that hurt my soul. That hit right there in the heart. And Mark loses it. He gets a couple punches in, but Omni Man says, look, I'm telling you the truth. So it's time for you to learn. And there seems to be this overarching motif concerning the truth. Like on Mark's end, like both Mark and Omni Man felt this need to hide the truth for very different reasons. But they felt the need to shield those they care about from the entire truth. And look where we are. Look where we are. Um, the train scene. I don't really. I. It was. That's so traumatic. There's not much to say. On that. It was brutal. Mark is still trying to appeal to Omni Man's sense of right and wrong, sense of good nature. And it's really kind of not working because Omni Man truly feels like he has this loyalty to Viltrum above all else, which produces an internal conflict, which I will get into in a second. Um, so the mountain scene. Omni Man essentially beats Mark within an inch of his life, which, ooh, those blows over and over and over. It was hard to hear. It really was. It was, yeah. But all of this builds up to Omni Man not delivering the final blow, and he leaves the planet. And when he leaves, he's crying, which at first, when I first watched it last night, didn't make sense because he's punching Mark. He's like, who cares? What's another 17 years? He's content with killing his child because he's like, his rationale is, well, I can go produce another one, which is not foreshadowing to Oliver Grayson. I hope he comes next season. Oliver Grayson is crazy as fuck, okay? That is Mark's younger brother, who is half Viltrumite and half Thraxan, I want to say, because Nolan gets together with this other chick, and he has purple skin. So I hope he comes, okay? Because he is crazy. All right, he really resembles more of his father. But anyways, Omni-Man is content with killing his kids. So when I first watched it, I'm like, it doesn't make sense that you say all this and then you leave. You don't kill your son. You leave the planet and you're crying. And then when I watched it again, and we have this, I realized Omni-Man has been struggling with this internal conflict for 20 years since he's been on Earth. Ever since Debbie and Mark came to the picture, he has been really fighting to reject his humanity, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? He feels a need to deny the fact that he is vulnerable. He is emotional. He is partly human. And I don't think he's ever been able to come to terms with that. And that really comes ahead in this episode because he always, his rationale, he felt compelled to do this. He feels like Mark is making him punch him. He feels like the Guardians made him murder them. Like he just felt compelled because of some sort of blind loyalty to Viltrum. And I don't think he ever really wanted to step back and question what he was doing. And then I think he was so angry with himself because he really let frivolous things that he would consider frivolous, like having emotions and being vulnerable. Because in that moment, Omni-Man had that flashback with Mark playing baseball, and he was vulnerable and he didn't allow himself to kill Mark. And I think that really angered him because he finally came to terms with who he is. And don't get it twisted, he is psychotic, but part of him is just sad about the events that took place. Not regretful, but he was sad. And then it just caused him to leave. Whew, it's crazy. So after all of that happens, we get to the aftermath of the battle. 2 weeks basically have passed, and Mark, he's recovering in the hospital. I really wish that Mark was able to get a couple more licks in against Omni-Man. I defended him in episode 6 because a lot of people were saying, oh my god, he gets his ass kicked every episode. He always gets beat up. But like, I was like, he's a kid, he's still learning. But we're in episode 8, and I would have expected him to get at least 3 licks against Omni-Man. He had that one set of punches, and then that was it. Every other time, Omni-Man beat the shit out of him. So, I don't know. I wish he would have been able to really show himself to be a little bit invincible. I guess he is invincible because he survived all that, but you know what I mean. So 2 weeks have passed. Cecil fakes Nolan's death to protect their identities. And we finally see the new Guardians cement themselves as the Guardians. And I love that we actually get to see them being a team, because up to this point, the teamwork wasn't there. The only time we really saw them do anything together was when they got their butts kicked by Battle Beasts. So I'm glad that we got to see that. Took us till the season finale, but we got it, right? Cecil and Mark have this conversation, and Cecil informs Mark Debbie knows everything, and Mark's initially upset. He's like, oh my god, you told her? Why? And I didn't like that because it's like, Mark, what the hell? After everything that happened, you still feel like you need to shield someone you care about from the truth. Why? What were you going to say to your mother after everything that went down? There was no way you could sugarcoat this. But Cecil helps him understand, like, she needed to know, she deserved to know. And Mark's like, you know what, you were right. Cecil tries to, coax Mark back into the superhero world. But Mark's, he's like, I'm not ready. I can't, which is totally understandable. They get home. Debbie has a breakdown in her bedroom, which was just so sad to see. Props to my girl Sandra Oh. You did it. You did that shit. It was sad. It was sad. It was sad. Amber comes over, and I guess her and Mark get back together. What was the point of episodes 6 and 7 with relation to the drama between them. What was the point? If you were just going to have them be together anyways and have her, oh, I don't know, be understanding and finally recognize the risks that he takes as a hero, which is the reaction that we were expecting in episode 7, what was the point? Like, you dragged her character through the mud for nothing. And you know what kills me? What kills me is her rationale. She's like, and I wrote it down, she was like, looks like I wasn't the only one being lied to. That's your rationale for getting back together with him? I'm not getting into that. Because if you saw my last video, you already know how I feel about that. So I'm done with them. Hopefully that won't really prolong itself through season 2. Mark, Amber, Eve, and William, they all go out, you know. It's nice that he has that support system to lean on during this time. It's really nice to see. And so they go to hang out, and Mark's like, I just feel so hollow. I feel so empty, which is completely understandable. And for me, there's a garbage truck outside. So if it ruins my audio, I'm going to be pissed off. But anyways, so I feel like if Mark doesn't have some sort of PTSD in season 2, I'm going to side-eye the writers. Like, this was traumatic, what he went through. He witnessed hundreds of people murdered in front of him. He tried to save 2 people, and they were both murdered at the hands of his father. With everything he experienced, I feel like there has to be some form of PTSD in season 2, right? That would make the most sense, and I hope they explore that. I hope they explore his mental health as well as Debbie's mental health, and they're respectful in telling that story. Mark ends up being called into space, and we see Alan the alien again, and Mark catches him up on everything that's happened. And we find out that the Coalition of Planets, which I gotta look that up, because I really, it's not coming to my mind what they are, but I would assume they're like, you know, the Guardians of the Galaxy, something like that, you know? But essentially, they're trying to build a force to go against the Viltrum Empire. And Mark's like, cool, I'm down with that. And the reason why I said earlier that Omni-Man really had this internal conflict with himself, and at the end of the day, he came to terms with the fact that he is human. He holds good nature deep, 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 deep in his heart. There's a smidge of good nature and goodwill, because Alan stresses, like, this is unheard of that a Viltrumite left his post and abandoned it. Like, this doesn't happen. So I just thought that honed in on Omni-Man really coming to terms with who he is as a person. So we get a montage of everything that's happened. We get upcoming storylines for season 2, hopefully. The one I'm most interested in is with Titan, because he's like the new crime lord, and the little parasite things. The squeeds? Is it squeeds? Yeah. The parasite things from episode 4. I'm ready to see that. And Mark ends off like, you know, in the meantime, I'm just going to finish high school. And I'm like, that's on period. So that was an amazing finale. An amazing, amazing finale. What a great way to end the series. What a nice way to leave it open-ended for season 2. But even if they don't get a season 2, it still wrapped up all the stories nicely. Yeah, I loved it. That was great. Um, that's all I have, guys. Thank you for sticking through this. I knew it was going to be long because I had a lot to say, but thank you for watching. Um, Drop down in the comments, maybe, let me know how you felt on the finale. And yeah, I will catch you guys sometime next week or maybe this weekend. Peace. Bye.